Well, now here we are here. What we're looking at here is the federal government's idea of how they're going to service Rockhampton for the future. And what they're going to do is they're going to put a bypass road which is going to bypass out round the back of the airport, go from the roundabout out round the back of the airport, back over a bridge which will be up the north of the city, not in here where we need a bridge to relieve congestion and to bring services back through the city. They're going to go right around, come back out the other side of the airport, cross over there north of the city, and then come back onto the highway back up north of the city. Now, if I owned a motel in Mackay, what I'd be doing is putting a sign down here to the south of Rockhampton and saying that if you're only 3 hours from the Metropolitan Motor Inn in Mackay, big phone number, ring ahead and we'll book you in. Consequently, the railway line is going to do the same thing. Go out around the back here and go right on through a new railway bridge over the top there. What we will have is a railway station either at Gracemere or back in here, which means there'll be all sorts of moving around to get people in and out to the railway station. I don't even know if they've even thought about that. But the consequence of this is that we will be losing traffic and much needed valuable dollars for our region and our community that should be coming through our city. Now, the proposal that I'm going to show you in a moment is actually a bridge going from here at Egan's Hill, and there it is there, that's the line there coming across here, across the river just there, across the Comnage, on the southern side of the dump and coming out near Frenchman's Creek, in which case there can be a ramp coming off going down to the meatworks to allow road trains to the meatworks, and a ramp coming off to go back on the Lakes Creek Road, which will put the traffic and everything going back through across the end of the old bridge, across Kershaw Gardens, back onto the highway, which is that yellow line there, and follow it back through to the north. Keeping the traffic on already constructed operational roads, and roads that are able to handle the traffic flows that we're talking about. And the bridge that we need, and the Purlon bridge that we need to build, is from there to there, not from there to there. And a bridge outside of the city, this bridge will be within the city, so the city can use it and relieve the congestion from the northern sector of the city. Well, here we are now. We're on the southern side of where a bridge would come across the floodplain and across the Fitzroy River, making up the third bridge for the City of Rockhampton and also to benefit central Queensland in total. Now, from this bridge here, of course, from this position here, a ramp would go off to the south and a ramp would go off to the north. You might notice behind me there's a train there, there's a railway line there, and of course the road. This section here at Rockhampton is one of three major north-south-west links in Queensland. There's only three. That's Townsville, Rockhampton and Brisbane. So consequently from here, this point here, we can take transport and traffic from here across the floodplain, across onto the southern side of the dump and come out at Frenchman's Creek, along Lakes Creek Road, across the end of the old bridge, across the end of Kershaw Gardens, back onto the highway and back through to the north. But also we can then bring road trains in, and from the other side of the river across the bridge, the new bridge, we can have a ramp that'll go down and go along through to the two meatworks down to the south of the city. That also too would link up and allow road trains to come in from the west and the south, and also coming in from the northwest. Now, importantly, those road trains will be able to come in without unhooking at Gracemere as they're doing now, which is a great problem for the cattle industry and also for the abattoir industry. At the same time, it will create a ring road which will allow visitors to the area to go down through Emu Park, around to Yeppoon, and come back via Rockhampton and go through to the north and or back down south. Now, what we're talking about now is what I would like to see done to ensure that we can satisfy the future of central Queensland, Rockhampton, and the total area right through to the coast and right back out through to the west, and see that our meatworks and everything has been fed properly with the products that come from our total region. Now, here's the highway down here, And where I showed you before, where the road will turn off the highway, the red line is the road on pylons. As it says here, road and rail on pylons. The red line will be the road, and the road will come across the floodplain, across the river, and it's a very narrow part of the river. We'll show you some photographs of that as we go along. Across the Commonwealth, and on the southern side, there's the dump there. On the southern side of the dump now, the playing fields, there's the racetrack over here, and the playing fields are all in here, so none of that is affected. From here there will be a ramp come off and go down to the meatworks to allow road trains access to the meatworks to allow to unload stock and so forth down there, and so that we haven't got to split our road trains. Also too, it will allow for a ring road to run down through Emu Park, Yeppoon and back up to the Bruce Highway, and from there they can go through to the north and or come back into Rockhampton. But at the same time there'll be a ramp going off this way to the north, which will allow tourists and ordinary road traffic to come through along Lakes Creek Road and across the end of the old bridge, which is just there, and across the end of Kershaw Gardens and back onto the highway, and then follow through to the north. And that there is what it's doing, is it's keeping the traffic flowing through, but it's keeping it on existing operational roads that are built to handle this type of traffic flow, and back onto the highway, which is just over there. The only new roads is there and across here. But if you look at what we were talking about before and going way out around here, there's a massive difference. But the most important thing is that we will have a third bridge for our city in here, which will allow traffic to get out to Gracemere, allow traffic through the city and back out, and take the load off our two bridges that are in here now, which are overloaded at certain periods of the day. And certainly our older bridge is getting to the stage where it needs to be taken, the high traffic flow needs to be lessened on that bridge and get back to more city traffic and so forth. Tourists, of course, once again, it'll allow tourists to get back in here, and also to get across the old bridge and come back into our motel section, to keep people availability to get to the motels, get into the city heart, and of course also Musgrave Street will become a major factor in the future growth of the city. Now on the southern side of the highway, on the southwestern side of the highway, we got land over there, good high quality land and good hard stand, which we could bring into vogue to bring in the Intermodal hub, which is vitally important for transport and to ensure that we become the central transport link in Queensland, to have trucks coming from the south, from the north, and also to deliver to the west and come from the west. So most importantly, the Intermodal hub is very important here, because what we've got, once again, we've got rail, which is just behind us here, and that rail goes around and links and goes under the highway just here and goes out to the west, as well as it goes back through to the city. But also too, across the road here, we can have the transport side of it, the truck side of it, which will ensure that the trucks can come in here, unload, reload, and take stuff to the west and further to the north. Most importantly, Rockhampton is a very easy drive from Brisbane and also from Townsville and Cairns. So at the same time, these trucks can come up here and fit in with their logbooks and ensure that they're not over driving, and they can have a rest here with a super roadhouse set up here with proper food and places for them to have a bath and clean up, and then have a rest, and then get back on the road again and keep within their logbooks and everything else. This is a vitally important part of the structure, and would fit in very well with the whole operation, as I say, as a north-south-west link in central Queensland. Going back onto the bridge, which will go across here, across the floodplain, across the river, come out on the southern side of the dump, and where I told you before it would head. So most importantly, this part of the land across the road here is vitally important to the future development of central Queensland, and that bridge that we're talking about is exceptionally important to the development of central Queensland and where we go to from here. Righto, well now, if you're looking across the floodplain there, what you can see is that we're looking back over to where the highway is, and where we've come across, as I say, the bridge itself will come across there on pylons, and from there then it will come to here, and then cross the Fitzroy River in the vicinity of this area, somewhere here. Now it could be a distance either way, go across the Commonwealth and come out at Frenchman's Creek on the other side of the Commonwealth, on the southern side of the dump. just looking up at the traffic lights that go into Toses Road along Lakes Creek Road. That's what we're looking at just there. And then I'll come back away from there and we'll come around, and just here in the vicinity of here, which is on the southern end of the dump off Lakes Creek Road, would be where the bridge would come across and come onto Lakes Creek Road. And then from here it then would proceed on a ramp and come down onto Lakes Creek Road and follow up Lakes Creek Road across the end of the old bridge, across the end of Kershaw Gardens and back onto the highway and head through to the north. And the railway line, of course, would take its course back onto the railway line on the north side and head back up from there. Now from here there would be a ramp go down and head then up along Lakes Creek Road through to the meatworks down at Lakes Creek and also Swifts. So you can see what we're talking about here on a good thoroughfare. The bridge would come in on this area here, and a ramp, as I say, come across and go through to the north, and then a ramp come off and go through down to the meatworks, and then a ring road down through Emu Park, around through Yeppoon and back up to the highway, the Bruce Highway. Now for the rail bridge, which will be right alongside on the same bridge, what we need to do then is come off the same thing. The railway line runs along here, and of course it goes back out through here and it comes back into the city as well. The new rail line will run alongside the road bridge, and of course a rail being rail, it will need a long steady flow turn to come back onto the north side where the railway line already is, and then from there it will go under the old bridge and across here to under the new bridge and come onto Knight Street, where the land we will show you in photographs probably about now. The land in this area here is already owned by the railway. Now that is where the new railway station should be located, because of this very special reason, that it's on just off the highway, whichever way you're going. More importantly, it's central to Yeppoon, or the coast, as well as Gracemere and the whole of Rockhampton. It's a central location instead of where the railway station is now back out here. And at the other side of it is, it will give easy access for anyone coming to the railway station. If you look at Knight Street's configuration, you will see that it's more easily accessed than anything back down in here, and all the back streets that you have to go through to get to the railway station. So there you are, and of course then from there it will just head straight on back out to the north. A very important thing will come out of this. We will get rid of the railway line going down through Denison Street, down through the city. And the railway line will just come out through a certain few streets in the north side of the city and through to the north. So we'll get rid of all that railway line, all this rail situation that's back in here in the city will all be gone, and we'll have a brand new situation, brand new railway station, very well set up for people movers as well as for products and produce and freight, and then also access to the north, access to the south, and access to the west. Once, as I say, north-south-west link, central Queensland, and to develop central Queensland the way we need to do it. Now we're just turning into Knight Street here. Now Knight Street, all this land on the left-hand side, where the camera is facing now, is all railway owned land. And this is where we're talking about the new railway station should be part of the new complex and road and rail bridge and road and rail structure for access in, through and out of Rockhampton, but also to look at how we look at the intermodal movement of transport and transport of goods and operations. Now, as you can see, there's more land. We're looking at the back part of the land here, and back in through there, there's a very large area of land. Now this area and this place would be very accessible from Yeppoon, from Gracemere. It's central to the whole area and region, and would make a great place to have the new railway station link up with the new railway line coming through across the new bridge over the Fitzroy River. So most importantly, this part of the land across the road here is vitally important to the future development of central Queensland, and that bridge that we're talking about is exceptionally important to the development of central Queensland and where we go to from here.